I'm working on a feature for an application that I'm helping to build. The feature is an image cropper. We want a beautiful online image cropper where we can take a sample image of some kind and have it then constrain the aspect ratio so that we can upload a new image using that same aspect ratio and crop it appropriately. We'll hit the export button and bingo, there's our cropped image that's the identical aspect ratio as the source image that we sampled. That's the goal of this. The secondary goal is that we would like to have this work with the existing technology choices that we've already made for this project so that we don't have to back out of things and redo things and switch what we call dependencies. In other words, a dependency is something where we didn't write it ourselves, but we are depending upon it for the functionality of our application. The application doesn't matter too much. This feature is what we're talking about right now. And this feature is being built in isolation so that I can experiment with and pin down the various dependencies. So let's take a look at a couple dependencies already. The first dependency is we are using SCSS for our target application, so I'm using SCSS here. The second dependency is we're using JavaScript version 6, which is, well, it's not codenamed Babel, but Babel is the kind of the nickname for JavaScript 6 that gets translated into backwards compatibility. There's a big long story in a different demo, okay? In this case, we're using just plain old HTML, but I'm going to change that because one of the dependencies is we are working with HAML, not HTML. So here is HAML. Now, I'll switch the dependency, and right away it gives me an exclamation point because it says, hey, something's gone wrong here. No problem, HTML to HAML. There's an easy online converter here. CodePen won't do this work for us, but bingo, here we go. Let's drop it back in. And now we've got our HAML code. So we're using HAML, SCSS or Sass, and Babel. Those are the three basic languages that we're using to develop our application. So I'm developing this demo in those so that I can understand all of the implications of that. But there's more. We also, in JavaScript, we have a few dependencies. We have jQuery 2.4, we have jQuery UI 1.2.1, and we have now this library called Cropit that we're working with. Now, these are the dependencies that are working right now. I found somebody else's CodePen demo online, I adapted it for my purposes, and I added some of these dependencies because I want to know just in a very minimal sense what this thing is going to take to get working, and then how possibly difficult it is to integrate with our application. So that's a little look at the dependencies. One issue that I see here is that it's using jQuery 2.2.4. Our application is using jQuery 3. So I want to change it right now to use jQuery 3.1.1, and immediately upon doing that, I see in the debugger window that I have a big mess. I have, some kind of undefined something or other happening in some garbled up code here. I have, some kind of other thing happening in some more kind of chewed up code, and I have, it looks like, possibly a third thing happening in some also chewed up code. So what happened here is we discovered by changing to jQuery 3, we have an integration problem. And now I want to know how bad that integration problem is. Well, one thing to do is make sure, first of all, that we're using non-minimized versions of all of our dependencies so that we can see a little bit better what's going on. So let's fix that right now. We're going to go to CDN.js and we're going to pick up the non-minimized version of jQuery. So we'll go to jQuery and we'll pick 3.1, but you see this .min.js? We don't want that one. We want the other one. We want the one that's not minimized. And we're going to do the same thing with jQuery UI. This isn't going to change the results, but it will make it a little bit easier to read what's going on. So here's a jQuery UI.js non-minimized. Let's take that and put it right here. Okay, and we have crop it. All right, so let's clear everything out and let's reload this frame and see what blows up. Well, we're down to just the one error, so that's good. And the one error is something about event.props.push is undefined. Cannot read property push of undefined. So the next thing I'll do is go research that. And I'm going to stop this demo here because the purpose of this demo was to talk about what all of the dependencies are. In the next demo, we will analyze the complexity of upgrading this or somehow bringing it into compliance with jQuery 3 so that we can get going and have a good time.